Hello again, YouTube land. Um, Pardon my fatigue mannerisms. I'm wiped. Okay, this isn't scripted, but I'm gonna do my best to keep it to a reasonable time limit, say 6 or 7 minutes. Indoor gardening. I know it sounds self-contradictory, but there are plenty of people who have indoor planters and, herb gardens on their balcony or their terrace, this being New York City, that could translate as fire escape. In many places and areas, including ours, it's typically seen as illegal, according to the fire marshal, to have things out on the fire escape, or so our super tells us. But there are plenty of people who break those rules. On our building alone, there's at least 3. And until this morning, I wouldn't have considered adding to that list, but I have a tomato plant, which has yet to give me a single hint of tomato, that has gotten to be upwards of 3.5, 4 feet tall. And when your windows are only 5 feet, 6 feet tall, that becomes an issue. And it becomes an issue in part for the plants too, because it can't get the amount of sun all over it needs. It can't get the amount of exposure to air and such that plants generally get when they're planted in actual terra firma. So I'm considering moving the tomato plant out on the fire escape, and if I get nailed for it, I get nailed for it. If I have to bring it in, I'll bring it in. I mean, I'm good about warnings. If someone's willing to say to me, look, you can't do that, this is a warning, fix it, or you're going to have to pay a fine, a penalty, a consequence, all right, I'll take my warnings. But today it's supposed to be raining for the next, 24 hours, give or take? And I don't know. It's a hassle to put it out there, I admit, now that it's gotten that big. If I'd been growing it out there, it wouldn't be such an issue. But related to indoor gardening, I noticed that in a lot of people's homes, mine, my parents, friends I've had over the years, they tend to grow piles of things on their own, although it's growth in a different sense, You start off on Monday, the place is clean. By Wednesday, there's a small mound of socks in one corner, pile of shirts over in another. You walk into another room, and there's a whole other pile of stuff sitting there waiting to be tackled and handled. So indoor gardening could really be taken as a pretty broad description of things, if you ask me. And they're banging away like hell downstairs. Maybe they're adding an irrigation ditch. Today being Friday, though, it is, in our house, my day off. Although, I often ask myself, day off from what? I mean, define job for me. I was following Will Wheaton and Ann Wheaton's Twitter posts, and I guess yesterday was the first time they got tagged by the paparazzi. Now, I'm not going to keep talking about them, but specifically the paparazzi. He made some blasé comment, or so I read from Twitter, about trying to make a living, brah. Yes, they were in Hawaii. And that's just ludicrous. I mean, that's ludicrous. I'm someone who needs a job and hasn't been working for 6 years now. And in my life, I would never consider being a paparazzi. Not because of the physical exertion it often takes on the human body, and mine's in pretty crappy shape to begin with. Hi, Trouble. But because, to me, a paparazzi is really like a half a step above a cockroach. I'm not famous, I'm not well known, I've never been, never will be likely chased by paparazzi. But you know what? The entire vileness of paparazzi as a field can be summed up in 2 words. Just 2 words. Princess, die. That's the end of the story. Literally. I remember when Diana was killed in the car crash with Dode Al-Fayed. I remember that. And to this day, there are still people, I mean, forget the Anglophilic side of me that has a love for England and the entire UK, but as a profession, I think it's insulting to use the word profession. That's not making a living. That's not a job. That's making a quick buck off somebody else. That's a Ponzi scheme with tangible proof. To me, a job is something you work at. You hone skills. You ply your trade. Carpenter is a job. Policeman is a job. Mailman is a job. And no, I'm not using gender references here. That's just how I refer to all of humankind. EMT, paramedic, firefighter, fashion worker, maintenance person, gardener, horticulturalist, scientist. These are jobs. These are professions, each having many potential subdivisions listed under that heading. But you have to work at it. You have to learn from it. You have to try. I mean, even singers and actors practice. They work on things. They rehearse. They study. You know, they go to coaches and teachers who specialize in that field. No one specializes in paparazzi. You know, it's not like they can say, oh, well, I'm the next Annie Leibovitz. No, you're not, dude. No, you're not. You're only going to be the next Annie Leibovitz if people trust you to take their picture. If they trust you to use it in a way that best represents them and then yourself. So let's all just do the world a favor and stop referring to paparazzi as a job or a profession or legitimate photojournalism, because it's not, man. It's really not. It's rude. It's invasive. That's why I don't take pictures of people in general if I see them around New York. Because it's interesting to me to see these people, but it's interesting to me because it reaffirms my already existent belief. They're just people, you know? I don't have to go blathering everywhere. Oh my God, I ran into so-and-so. You could have just as easily run into so-and-so if you'd been on that street at that particular 5-minute period. It's not that big a deal. Suffice to say, I have exceeded my self-set time limit, so I'm going to stop. But today being rainy and crappy out, and my quote-unquote day off, which just means doing less housework than I usually do, because house spouse is a job, in a sense, I'm going to go have lunch eventually. It's only 10:30. And work on some commission knitting projects I have going, watch some DVDs, and just enjoy being another human being on the planet.